Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is AARP Illinois. My name is Lori Hendren, and you're joining us for our third installment of September's Summer Sammies. So, we're going to be joined today by the chefs at the Cookery Inc. in Morton, Illinois. And AARP is proud to have a community of presence, which is Peoria, Pekin, and Morton. And for over the past 5 years I've been with AARP, we have consistently had these wonderful cooking classes in person. But as you know, this year's a little different. So, we're doing that right in your home. And if you've been with us several times, you know how this works. I'm going to already have posted in the feed where you can click to download this week's recipes, and the chefs from the Cookery Inc. are going to walk you through. So, who are AARP? We're the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and we choose and work to help empower people to live the lives they want. And we are part of making your communities livable, improving policy that helps the 50 plus population. Right now, we're talking about nursing homes, and we're talking about telehealth. We're talking about making sure utility rates are protected. All the things that you're probably seeing in the 5 o'clock news, I bet AARP is part of that conversation, and also at the federal level as well. But today we're talking community, and we're here with the chefs at the Cookery. I'm going to turn that over to them and let them do what they do best.
Hi,
Thank you,
everybody.
Amanda.
Chef Amanda here from AARP. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. You ready for me?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another video for AARP. We are wrapping up our week of summer sandwiches and just in time to welcome fall today. Today we're going to cap off with some pretty simple, easy, quick recipes. Can you give them a check? Yes. And so today we're going to be making a tomato basil soup with fresh basil, canned and fresh tomatoes. We have a mix of heirlooms and Romas and cherry tomatoes so that we can get a really, really well-rounded flavor going on with all of the different varieties there. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to finish up with a grown-up style grilled cheese. So yes, we could do a traditional grilled cheese and just add some bacon, but today we're going to step outside of the comfort zone and we're going to do something a little bit different. And our grilled cheese is going to have not only a homemade jam, but also some of that stone ground Dijon mustard like we used in yesterday's video. And then it's also going to have prosciutto and some unique cheeses and even some candied nuts inside. So if you don't think that sounds good, definitely give it a try at home, and I think we can prove you wrong on that one. So I think first and foremost, we'll go ahead and get started with our tomato basil soup. Some little side notes about this soup. Any tomatoes can be used. Probably wouldn't want to use our green tomatoes like what we had in yesterday's sandwich, which, by the way, oh my gosh, was amazing. We have to actually find people to feed our AARP demos to now, since you all can't be with us, unfortunately, but everybody was so delighted to get that sandwich and just really enjoyed it because it's something unique and different. So that went over really, really well. So to start out our tomato basil soup today, I'm just going to get my little pot going on here. This is probably a 12-quart stock pot. And we're just going to get that going on a medium heat. I don't have anything in there as of right now except for my butter and my olive oil. So again, just like yesterday, we're doing a butter and olive oil combo. I have 2 tablespoons of each. So 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. We are not sauteing at a super high temperature, so that olive oil is going to work just perfect for this application. Our recipe calls for 2 cups of onions. So I tried to pull 2 of the smallest onions I can find, and that's usually going to be about the equivalent of a cup per onion. And then 6 cloves of garlic. So I have those here inside of my little ramekin. And we'll go ahead and get started with the onion and garlic because remember, those are aromatics. So we always want to get those started first. And they're actually going to flavor the oils that we're going to use to make the soup. My apologies for the phone, folks. It's a very busy day here today. Okay, so I've used just my little, it's my creme brulee cups, I guess you could call them ramekins. And I've just used that to smash my garlic first to start out and get my peels and skin off of the garlic. All right. You can use a garlic press. That's a question we get every time y'all are here. And those work great. Again, I feel like you get a lot of garlic stuck inside, so then you just have to turn right around and, you know, pick all your garlic out and chop it up anyway. So I say just go for the knife from the start. I mentioned in our last series last month that I was going to get that little garlic tool that looks kind of like a, what's the thing you use to make biscuits, like a biscuit cutter, but it does garlic in it. And I still haven't picked one of those up, but I'm definitely going to at some point. So now that we have all of our garlic peeled, we're going to go ahead and do a quick chop. I'm using this itty bitty 6-inch knife. We buy these a lot for our kids around here, and I really like them for tiny mincing. So I'm just using that, and I'm going to get this garlic minced down as fine as I can. And I'm going to turn my oil and butter mixture down to low right now because I don't want it to become black butter. You also want to make sure that your oils aren't super hot when you add in the garlic because it's such a delicate thing. I'm sure this is down. You want to make sure because your garlic is so small that it doesn't just burn right up when you get it in there. So we're doing our mincing technique here, making sure all that's pretty uniformly minced. That looks pretty good. And we're going to throw it right into our fat. And that's immediately going to go from butter to garlic butter. And you can see that's bubbling, extracting all of those delicious oils from the garlic. And while we let that go just on low, we'll go ahead and knock out these onions. So I know you guys have seen this trick a million times, but here we go again. It's always great to have a refresher course. So we chop off the top, not the root. We're going to leave the roots intact. Then we're going to go right through the root before we peel it. Then we peel.
Whole week of culinary school right here, folks.
Yep. That's Joe behind the camera helping me out today.
Good to be with you guys here again. Mostly because of the amazing grilled cheese I'm going to get to eat here in about 40 minutes. But
says you. That's my grilled cheese. I'll share with you, Joe.
We have this fight every time, guys. We always share.
Me and Sophie got to take our fried green tomato sandwiches home last night and have them for dinner after having them for lunch. And we both enjoyed our melon and mint salad as well.
It was amazing.
Well, I had mine for breakfast, and it honestly just got better overnight with all those delicious ginger flavors. So here I'm cutting back to the root, but not going through it, making sure my garlic's not burning there, and it looks perfect. But I definitely need to get my onion in the pan because I don't want my garlic getting too hot, because if it burns, we're going to have burnt garlic oil, and then we have to kind of start right back at the beginning. I really love this soup because it doesn't thicken with a roux, so it's gluten-free to eat. It freezes well. It can take any herbs from your garden that you really want to get rid of. I think next month we start to turn over and do a lot of really good fall flavors. I can't remember offhand what the demos are, but I know we got some holiday breads in there. I'm excited for some baking. We've been doing quite a bit of baking ourselves around here already. All right, we've got all of our onions down and chopped. And into the pot they're going to go. So again, onions and garlic, aromatics. They always go in the beginning to flavor the oil that we're working in. I got a couple jumpers into my time there. There you go. There are other aromatics. For instance, ginger is another one that can always go in early. Peppers. And it really depends on what kind of cooking that you're doing. So like Cajun and Creole cooking, the basis of every good sauce or dish in Cajun and Creole has onions and peppers. and celery. Whereas in French, it's onions, carrots, and celery. So it just kind of depends. All right, so that's looking pretty good, but we need it to cook until those onions are translucent, and I know that that's going to take about 10 minutes. So we'll talk about everything else that we have going on, probably more like 5 minutes if I can watch it pretty closely here. We'll talk about everything else that we have going on. Red pepper flake, I'm going to add that in right now so that it also helps season the onion. And this isn't enough red pepper flake to make anything spicy here. It's really just enough to kind of bring out the natural flavors. And sometimes we use spice for that. Like you'll see cayenne and hollandaise sauce, and you don't necessarily taste it represented there, but it just highlights the other flavors naturally, kind of like salt, and kind of makes them have a better, more pronounced flavor for what they are. Okay. We're going to make our soup vegetarian today, but you certainly could use the chicken stock if you wanted. A lot of tomato soups have chicken stock as their liquid base, but we make homemade vegetarian stock here all the time. So we thought we would keep this soup vegetarian, as we do have a lot of people order soups out of our freezer line that are vegetarian. Once we get these onions translucent, and since I'm cooking at a super high temperature, once I get these translucent, I'm going to add in my herbs and my tomatoes and my stock. So this is going pretty quickly, as you can see. It does. I mean, this will really get the kitchen going, that's for sure. So in here, I've got a 28 ounce can of plum tomatoes. And I really love those. And I'm actually going to pick some of those up and just squeeze them, which is a very natural Italian method to making this soup, or even a classic marinara or bolognese sauce. And then we've also got our 4 cups or 1 quart of veggie stock. Your recipe says you can use water or chicken stock or veggie. I mean, honestly, stock is going to produce a better flavor in your soup. Water is going to drown things out. Stock is going to add more flavor to it. This is smelling wonderful, looking beautiful. We're almost to that translucent stage, so we'll let that go for another minute. Over here, I've got my roasted tomatoes. So I got those started before y'all joined me here. And so what I did was just spray my pan. I cut up all the different varieties. You can see they're all different sizes here. I cut up all the different varieties of tomatoes. I tossed them in a little bit of extra virgin olive oil with some salt and pepper, kind of like we did our sweet potatoes the other day. And then I roasted them for 40 minutes in the oven at 400. So that extracted a lot of the juices. I already added the tomato juices in with my tomato juice here. There wasn't too much, honestly. They weren't really super juicy tomatoes. But I did get a little juice, and I saved that. And I added it to my tomatoes. And then these are going to go in here with the canned tomatoes, which gives us the best of both worlds. A little bit of fresh. The roasted really gives a nice flavor combination, and you could roast those with seasonings too if you really wanted to get some good flavor on it. But I just did a general salt and pepper. So this looks pretty good. We have some translucent onions. So now we're going to add in our 28 ounce can. I'm just going to add some of the juices out first. Get those intermingling. And then I'm just going to reach in here. And I'm really going to crush them. We have a night in Tuscany class here. And when they make the sauces, we make them go through all of these processes, which just makes it seem so genuine. But in the long run, we're going to puree the soup. It's not going to matter that much, but it sure is fun.
Makes you feel like a real professional chef.
Exactly. All right, so in that went, oh, does this not smell amazing, Joe, or what?
Well, it is making me very hungry, guys.
Well, you're welcome.
I'm always hungry, but especially right now.
All right, so in with the rest of the tomatoes. All right, we're going to give that a good stir. Then we're going to add in our basil, our thyme, our stock. And then our oven roasted tomatoes.
Yum.
So 2 cups of basil, Joe. 2 cups. That's a whole lot of basil.
Is a whole lot of basil.
Yep. And so I've just gone through and I saved one, but literally just plucked each leaf off its stem. The stems are a little bit bitter. I have yet to find a really good use for the really thick basil stems. Parsley stems we use a lot in our stock, but these are kind of bitter. So I usually toss them, compost them. Okay. And then, so 2 cups, or actually 2 cups. Yeah, 4 cups. I was going to say, this looks like way more than 2 cups. 2 cups or 4 cups of fresh basil. And soup, guys, is a really good way if you have like a leaf that's kind of turning a little bit brown and you're like, you know, I don't want to eat that like that. A soup is a great way to utilize those leaves that might be getting a little bit brown on you because you're not going to notice them once they're in here. And it's just brown from oxidizing, so it's not going to hurt much going into the soup. You're never even going to notice.
Chef, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we do have
Sure.
a question from our YouTube viewer. What kind of flame do you have for the oil?
What kind of what?
She says, what kind of flame do you
I've
have
been
for the
cooking
oil?
it. I started it out on like a low to medium just so I didn't burn the garlic. And then now, since I'm standing right over the pot and I know that we want to, you know, move this along, typically this is going to simmer for like another half an hour or 40 minutes at home. So I would keep it at medium. But for me, I'm going a little bit higher just to progress through the recipe, and I'm standing right over it so I know it's going to be okay. But yeah,
Okay, thank
typically
you.
I don't cook my oil, if it's olive oil, I don't cook it over that medium temperature. Or you might risk getting it a little bit hot and then you get that weird smoke and then it tastes kind of funny. Oh, that smells awesome. It looks great. We've also got some thyme coming in there. My friend Ann dropped all of this fresh thyme off here the other day. So we just left it out on our counter to dry. And then it turns into these beautiful thyme leaves. And we're just going to put those right into here. Let that go. I've got parsley for my garnish at the end, just so I can kind of keep it a very herby soup. But I'm also going to add in some rosemary because I have it and it smells good. And I think it's going to go great. And that's a way to kind of take your soup from summer into the fall months, which we are transitioning today, folks. So why not? So I'm just going to take this off the stem. Here we go. By grabbing a hold of it and shaving right down. Easier said than done, right? There we go.
Never wants to work right when you're showing.
Yep. Big thanks to Ann Odewalt if she's watching. She's the one that dropped off all of these delightful herbs. She usually does that at the end of the season for us when it's time to clear the garden and get it ready for basically hibernation, I guess. And I do chop my rosemary up. It's one of those herbs that just isn't going to cook down for you. So you want to give it a good, nice chop. Rosemary and thyme both will dry beautifully out on your countertop if you have an abundance of them. And then you can literally just package them like you would buy your dried herb leaves at the store. We do the same thing with the sage every year and then use it for Thanksgiving. So I got this pretty nice and chopped up and ready to go. And then what we'll do is let our soup cook while we make our grilled cheese. And then it should be ready to go. All right, so I have everything in here. We started with 2 tablespoons of oil, 2 tablespoons of salted butter. Then we added in 2 cups of onion, white onion, which was 2 small onions, basically. You could use a regular white onion, a yellow onion, or a sweet Vidalia onion. It's going to work there. I've even used a red onion in here. I don't really think it matters. Then we also added in 4 cups of fresh basil, some thyme, a little rosemary just for fun today because we had some. You could take that or leave that. And then our 4 pounds of garden and heirloom variety tomatoes. So we had some Camparis in here. We had some heirlooms, and we're just gonna put those right in. Isn't that pretty?
It smells so good.
It looks really good.
Chef, as you do that, I do have a couple questions for you, and then we'll hold questions till you're done with this. One, did you flip the roasted tomatoes?
I didn't flip them because, as you can see, day 3 of 3, I am baking on this amazing baker's rack, which allows the air to get both on top of the tomato and underneath the tomato at the same time. So that, you know, doesn't really create the necessity to have to flip the tomatoes because we can get air all the way around it on both sides.
Very good. Do you ever use mortar and pestle for grinding rosemary? Is that preferable to cutting it?
It would have to be very, very, very dry. And rosemary is probably the hardest thing to crush up, if you want to be honest. So you're going to be working at it for a really long time at a mortar and pestle, I have to be honest. We used to have one here that we use all the time, and then somebody dropped it and cracked it, and that was pretty much the end of getting one of those. You know, of course, we are an industrial kitchen here, so we do have a spice grinder, and that would probably be the preferred method if you're using an already really dried out rosemary. Now, I used one that was partially dry, but also somewhat fresh, and that's why I went for the knife, because I knew it was going to take the knife to be able to get through it. If I had put that in my spice grinder, it would probably gunk it up because it still has fresh leaves in it. In a mortar and pestle, I don't think you're going to get through fresh rosemary.
Could you put it in a food processor?
Food processor would work, but you'd have to have an itty bitty one, and you'd have to have a lot of rosemary in there. So this was just a tiny bit. So the knife is probably the best tool when you're working in small amounts and it's somewhat fresh. But
Okay,
if the rosemary is really dry, you could probably get it to crush up in there, but it's going to be some work. Yeah. This smells really good. We haven't added any salt to the party yet, so I'm probably going to give it a little taste here. And then see, I did have salt on my tomatoes when they roasted in the oven. But we use an unsalted butter here, so technically, other than the tomatoes that just went in, there's not a lot of salt. But when you're working with like some canned tomatoes, we know that, you know, they're going to have some salt processed into them. So you want to kind of hold back. And I'm glad I did, because this really doesn't need a whole lot of salt to it. It is really good on its own. And then I always like to garnish mine with like a little bit of Parmesan cheese, which is naturally salty, or pesto, also salty, or a crouton, also salty. So you don't want to overdo it. All right, we're going to let that cook and just reduce for a little bit. Keep the questions coming if you want, but I'm going to keep moving through and moving towards our delicious grilled cheese.
I wish you guys were here to smell this right now. It smells impeccable in here.
And that really comes down to, that's Sophie behind the camera.
Hey guys.
She did a little switcheroo. You know, that really comes down to flavoring that oil with the aromatics. And you'll notice that most good recipes written start like that, you know, because the oil will cook your dish. So you need the flavors to be moving all the way through the oil so that they can move all the way through the dish. It makes a lot of sense. It's a very French technique. All right, this is really cooking. I'm going to let that go on. First thing I'm going to do is fire up my little flat top grill over here. You could, of course, use a cast iron skillet if you wanted to make your grilled cheeses. You could use a regular skillet, too. Before I had anything cast iron, that's certainly what I would do. And we're looking for about a medium-high heat, medium to low, rather, not medium-high.
Could you do this like on a flat stone like grill if you have one?
Oh yeah, pretty much anything works to cook a grilled cheese. A lot of times here we do them in a panini press, and that works great too. And you know, everybody watching, I'm sure, excuse me, has made a grilled cheese in their life. So this is about just switching it up and maybe entertaining some more intriguing flavors and working things in there that you wouldn't typically put on your grilled cheese. That's what we're going to do today. Everybody's made grilled cheese. Those are staples. It's the first thing I taught my daughter to cook was grilled cheese and pancakes. And she made, last weekend, she made pancakes for us from start to finish. The mixing, the measuring, off to the stove. She did the whole thing. I couldn't even believe it.
That's so exciting.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about the components of this amazing grilled cheese we got going on. So, one of our staff members here made this roasted garlic butter last week, which was just roasted garlic cloves in the oven. We roast them at 375. I usually do it in a muffin tin, or one of those ramekins that I use to smash the garlic would work too. And you keep it in its whole bulb and slice the top off, stick it in there in a little foil pouch with some olive oil and roast it for 45 minutes. And it comes out perfect. And then you can flip that garlic over and it'll just squeeze right out. And then I just pureed it with the butter. And then here we have some roasted garlic butter now. And when garlic roasts, it gets very, very sweet and delicious. So we're going to go with that as the outside of our bread. And I left this recipe very open to ideas and interpretation, because you should be able to just whip up a grilled cheese with whatever you got lying around and not make it, you know, like something you need to have all the components for. So something that I see in a lot of recipes from like the 70s and 80s is spreading the mayonnaise on the outside. Yes. So that's totally an option here if you wanted to do that. Hey, fat is fat. Yeah. And a lot of people think that mayonnaise is a dairy product, but it's not. It's actually a protein product and a fat product. It's simply eggs and oil. That is it. And it becomes emulsified until it turns white and solidifies, basically. Well, as much as you want to call it a solid. Yeah. But it's not a dairy product, to say the least. We get a lot of questions about our chicken salad. And they're like, what do you mean it's dairy-free? It has mayonnaise. And I'm like, well, mayonnaise is not technically a dairy product. So basically, it would be spreading fat on the outside of your bread, no different than this right here. So I'm using that multi-grain bread that we had on day one, because let me tell you, folks, it was delicious. And I like all the different seeds and the different textures that came from it. So that made me want to use it on the grilled cheese. And again, I'm on low heat here. And you can see that I've put both sides down. This is just how I do it at home, because I like to get a head start on my bread and get it toasting. And then I have compiled some fancy ingredients since we're doing a grown-up grilled cheese. So I have a little bit of white cheddar here. Maybe I'll cut those so they don't hang off. So this one here is some white cheddar. And this is, what was this, Gouda, which I think is going to go great with our bread. Trying to find out the best way. There we go. And I like to do cheese on both ends. Okay. Then forgot I was making two. For the other one, we're going to go Swiss or Gruyere, if you can find sliced Gruyere, or you could even shred cheese here. It's okay to be free with it. It's just a grilled cheese, right? So we're going to go Swiss and Gouda on the other one. Gouda is one of my favorite cheeses.
I love some Gouda.
Me too. And I'm glad that they finally started making it in slices, because there's so many times that I've made like the croque monsieur, and I'm like, I really want, you know, the Gruyere cheese or the Gouda cheese to go inside of that. Find the best way. There we go. I was like, I know that's got to fit on here a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so get your cheese on there and get that melting. Now this is prosciutto, so it's Italian ham. So it's a little bit fancier than our standard ham. And it's a little bit thinner. And you can cook it first, but I don't necessarily like to do that. It's going to crisp up. And here it's going to remain nice and smooth and soft. So we're just going to put a little piece of that on.
Oh, it's paper thin.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I really like, you know how we made the melon ball salad yesterday? So
yeah.
I really like wrapping this in strips around the melon balls. And that's an hors d'oeuvre that we've done for a long time. So we're going to go on with our prosciutto, and you can see our cheese is already melting and becoming the glue. But before we get too much further, we have to add our condiment. So we're going to go with a little bit of that stone ground Dijon that we had yesterday on one side. And then we're going to go with some blackberry jam on the other side.
Are you kidding? That looks so good.
Yummy. And it might seem like a weird combo, but it's going to be great because mustard pairs very well with sweet and jam. Okay, so we'll put our mustard back on our bread there. Oopsie daisy. Okay, I'm going to check my bread and make sure it's just buttery but not too toasted. So over here, we're getting a little hot, so we're going to move them towards this side. And swap. That way we can have some even cooking. That one must be going a little higher. So we'll turn it down. Okay. And we're almost done. We're going to also add some, hair. There it is. And I'm just going to do some thin slices. Apple would be great here. Yum. I was going to do apple today, but then I saw these pears. And I thought, oh, that goes really good with my Gouda. So I opted for that instead.
So those are just thin slices?
Oh, yeah. Paper thin slices of pear. Yep. Beautiful. Okay, and then we also have here some candied nuts. These are something that we make in the shop all the time. So they've been tossed in just a little bit of egg whites with some cinnamon. And I'm just going to crush those up just a tiny bit on my cutting board here. I'm messy today, Joe.
Well, I'm like that every day, so I guess I'm just rubbing off on her a little bit.
And this is pecans, which are my favorite candied nut. And we just need a little bit, just for some extra added fun crunch and sweetness inside. And that's going to go right on there with our jam. And then we're probably ready for a flip. Oh, yeah.
Oh, these look amazing.
And I want to keep the crust on the same side. Ooh, almost got two done there.
It's exactly how I like mine.
Oh, good, Joe.
Yep.
That's all yours, Joe.
I've trained my husband to do that, too. Tell me that that's the way he likes it, when something is a little toasty. Perfect. All right. These are almost done. This is looking good to me. We can turn those off and just let them chill for another second and kind of come set up and glue to each other. So again, that was blackberry jam with the seeds in. Some stone ground Dijon mustard. And then some sliced, just regular old Bartlett pears, and then some candied pecans. And you can even buy those at the store, and they're absolutely delicious. So I'm not hating on that whatsoever. We just make them all the time for salads. So we just had them, and I thought they sounded good. So I'm going to turn back to my soup here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my immersion stick blender going on here. So
sorry for that, folks. We had a pickup, and I neglected the camera for a second.
That's okay. I don't think I strayed too far. So I'm just going to use my stick blender to do this. You could use a food processor, but I would recommend a blender or a stick blender. This is called an immersion blender. When you put it in a food processor, those are typically not made for wet foods, so you might have a little bit of leakage either out of the bottom or it's going to squirt everywhere. Typically, your blenders come with some sort of venting option that allow for the hot air to be able to escape somehow, which is less messy overall. But I like this here because you can just put it right down in and it's perfect for soup.
I've definitely made a mess before trying to use a food processor.
Yeah.
Spilled it everywhere.
Yep.
On the cabinets, on the counters.
That looks great. And then look at how good of a job it does. Can you get closer? I mean, these stick blenders are amazing. And this one here I bought at Bed Bath & Beyond. And it came as a set. with 3 attachments that hook onto here. And I bet this is 15 years old and it's still going strong, and it was not super expensive.
Sounds like a Black Friday purchase I need to make.
Yeah. Maybe Santa.
Yes.
Christmas.
So if you wanted to make this soup and you wanted to almost even elevate it even more, if that's possible, could you add like roasted peppers and things like that?
Oh, roasted pepper tomato basil.
That's what we always make in our house. That's why I'm asking, because I think it's delicious.
Well, I really like that this soup thickened really nicely without adding a thickening agent. So that is, I tasted that, so I can't use that one. But like, as you can see, I wouldn't want it really much thinner.
Especially
The thing that I would think that I would want in here would be heavy cream.
Oh, yum!
Then you could have the cream of tomato basil soup, which sounds lovely. You never want to boil your cream. So like now would be the time to add your cream. And just kind of let it come to temp heat up there. That looks pretty good.
Smells pretty good.
Yeah. All right, we are all done with that. We're all done with our grilled cheese. We just need to get a good slice going on here. We'll remove those to the board. Perfect. Get a little action going on there. A little peek on the inside. Does that not look delightful?
Oh my gosh. Makes me wish I wasn't vegetarian.
You could still change that. So.
It's not too late.
All right. And then we'll just plate up. Oh, that's
Slotted spoon might not be the best.
bring this off. And you could let it cook a little bit longer, but it's pretty darn good to me. And I really love the consistency of it. I like that we didn't have to use flour or cornstarch to thicken it either. And this is going to be a great freezer soup. It's going to freeze really well. Plate this up. Put a little fresh parsley on top. And I tasted the broth. I didn't taste the final product, but I know I'm going to put a little shaved Parmesan in there. So I'm thinking it's not going to need any more salt. Just clean up our bowl a little. All right, and then we're going to have a little parsley garnish. This is some micro parsley that I've been growing this year. And I really love it because the stems are super delicate, so you don't even have to pick them off.
Score.
And it looks really pretty. Do that on top. And
Joking, that looks amazing.
I usually have my peeler, which would have been perfect for this, but that's all right. We're just going to do a couple Parmesan shaves with our knife. We don't need much. Right over the top. And voila.
That's screaming apple cider and fall and pumpkins and yum.
Yeah, I know it was supposed to be end of summer, but I thought we had to kind of push ourselves into fall, and there we are. So thanks everybody for joining us. Today's soup was tomato basil soup from scratch without a thickening agent. So it's gluten-free, vegetarian, as long as you use the vegetable stock, which also means healthier as well. And then we have used our multi-seed bread, which is going to be full of fiber, also has chia seeds and flax seeds, and it's organic. So it's a great bread to be using if we have to, eat bread. And then inside we put our homemade Cookery blackberry jam with the seeds in it. Some Gouda, some Swiss, some prosciutto, some candied nut, and a little bit of stone ground Dijon mustard to make probably the best grilled cheese that I'm ever going to eat today.
That looks amazing.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We can't wait to see you back in October. with a new set of recipes and a new set of videos.
All right.
you,
Thank you,
guys.
Chef. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. So thank you for joining us. My name is Lori Hendren. I work for AARP in Illinois, and we thank you for joining us. This was the 3-part series. Today was our last day of the Summer Sammies. So, but come back. So come back in October. So I'm looking at my calendar. Monday the 5th, 6th, and 7th. We're going to come out here shortly with our times. We're going to be airing our upcoming cooking series. So make sure you look at that. Also, you can find us always upcoming events on the AARP Illinois website that you will see below. And virtual offerings is right here. You can always look on our Facebook page too. One of the things I would suggest you guys doing is I always watch all of AARP Illinois events. I mean, I work from, but I like our events too. And when our events come up, if there's an interested button, go ahead and click that on your Facebook page, because then you'll be, if you allow your phone, you'll get a quick reminder that, oh, 12:30, we're back with AARP on cooking or any of our other events. So look to us. We're going to be having some more events. We're going to be having a Teletown Hall series coming up on Thursday. We're going to have another live conversation on Monday. This Friday, we're going to have a tour of the African American Museum from Springfield, Illinois. It's a beautiful series. It's a 2-part series, so you should register. Definitely come back and join us. If you like what we're doing, reach out to Ellen Acevedo. We'd love to have you part of our team and join us in this journey as we develop our virtual offerings and lobby and continue doing the work that matters most to you. So on behalf of AARP, my name is Lori Hendren. Stay healthy, stay well, and I look forward to seeing you again.